All right, so I want to go ahead and show the three formulas that represent the Pythagorean identities. And the Pythagorean identities are trigonometric identities that come from the Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus y squared equals r squared, which you may also know as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But in terms of x, y, and r, we can find our trig functions, which our identities all are used with. So x squared plus y squared equals r squared. If we wanted to rewrite this, we could divide everything by r squared. And we would do that because we can now rewrite this as x over r quantity squared plus y over r quantity squared equals 1. That might not seem like a big deal until you remember that x over r is cosine of theta. So this is cosine of theta quantity squared plus y over r is sine of theta. So this is sine of theta quantity squared. And that equals 1. This is our first Pythagorean identity. We don't write it like this because whenever you have an exponent, you don't put it in parentheses, on the outside of parentheses on your trig function. You write it with the trig function. So this is really cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. And this is the proper way to write the first Pythagorean identity. Now we could go back through and do this same process but divide by x squared or y squared to get the other two. But there is an easier way to approach it. Once you know your first Pythagorean identity, you can find the other two. If we divide everything by cosine squared, in this Pythagorean identity, then we'd get 1, because cosine squared divided by cosine squared is just 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. Sine squared divided by cosine squared would give us tangent squared. So 1 plus tangent squared is equal to 1 over cosine squared is secant squared. This is our second Pythagorean identity. 1 plus tangent squared theta will always equal secant squared theta, just like cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta will always equal 1. These are always true no matter what you plug in for theta. The last one, if we go back to cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1, if we divide everything by sine squared, in the first case, we divided by cosine squared. If we divide by sine squared, we'll get cosine squared over sine squared. That's the reciprocal of sine squared over cosine squared. So it's the reciprocal of tangent, which is cotangent squared, plus sine squared over sine squared, anything over itself is 1, equals 1 over sine squared, which is cosecant squared. And this is the last Pythagorean identity. Cotangent squared plus 1 will always equal cosecant squared. So this, and this, these three equations represent the Pythagorean identities.